What the Actual Fork podcast is co-hosted by two intuitive eating registered dietitians, yours truly, Sammy Previtt, owner of Fine Food Freedom, and Jenna Warner, owner of Happy Strong Healthy. We can't stand diet culture bullshit and love keeping it real. Our mission is for all humans to believe that they are made for so much more than chasing a smaller body. We are also here to share with you that food can be fun and pleasurable again. Although we are medical professionals, we are human too. We are not afraid to share our deepest, darkest secrets and how years of our lives were taken by diet culture. We started this podcast so no human has to feel alone in their journey towards food freedom. So get comfy and join us for a casual convo where you can expect to laugh, cry, learn, and grow. Welcome back to another episode of What the Actual Fork podcast. Today, it's just Jenna and I.
Yay! Not yay, but like, yay, I'm excited.
Yeah, I was gonna say yay. Like, we love, obviously we love our guests, but like selfishly, we love to just hang out and talk, and we can take these off the cuff conversations and let everyone hear what we say.
And this is like all of our episodes are unscripted, but I told Sam I had something that I wanted to share. And she has no idea what
I'm like, what are we talking about?
We just promised that we were going to share our conversations from now on. And this is a good one that I know is going to get you fired up. So before we do that, do you want to share your What the Actual Fork moment of the week before I share mine? That's going to take us into an intense conversation, I think, because I'm like still processing what just happened.
Oh God, I'm like scared of what yours is going to be.
It's just interesting, and it leads into like this bigger conversation of what's wrong with our society.
Oh my gosh. I like don't leave my house. So I feel like I'm like thinking, I have not like had conversations with humans recently. I feel like mine are all like social media, What the Actual Fork moments.
Those are fair.
Which are also fair.
Real.
But I guess I'll go with like a more human interaction one. So, and it's hard because it's not necessarily one that makes you say like, what the actual fork, and get angry, but it's what we know, that like complimenting somebody's body is not a compliment, like period, end of story. And as you go through fertility journey, right? Pregnancy, postpartum, people just assume that like, if you're losing weight or looking a certain way, that like you want to hear about it. So like I've probably in the past few days like gotten multiple like, you look so great, and I just try to like, brush over that because I'm like, I don't want to talk about my body like that. But just hearing those kind of comments, it's just like, don't compliment somebody's body because you don't know what you're complimenting. You could be complimenting an eating disorder, you could be complimenting illness. So I guess that's mine, but it's not really about me. I just wanted to kind of bring it up because nobody's
a good reminder.
Anyone's body. Yeah.
I actually, Matt doesn't listen to this, so I could talk about him. I actually said that to my dad last night. Last night was Rosh Hashanah. For anyone that celebrates, Happy New Year. But he said something like, it's actually 1 year ago this week that Matt got the phone call like at last year's Rosh Hashanah dinner that he had some medical stuff going on. And I like brought that up to my dad last night, and he made a comment like about, how thin he looks. And I was like, don't you dare say that to him. Like, just shut up, because it's not a compliment, and it's not something that, it's related to illness, and it's very sensitive for him and for us. And, he hears it a lot, unfortunately. So yeah. I get it.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm like dying to hear yours.
So I went out to lunch. I haven't been out like for like a girls' lunch in forever, but I went out for this like nice lunch, and we went out to a restaurant that's like super cute, super tiny, like right around the corner from me. And this table next to us. So I say that because the tables are very close. And so the table next to us had like a newborn, and it was a husband and wife or two parents. And this like teeny tiny little baby sleeping in her car seat. And right after we ordered our food, the baby like made like a little squeak. And so like we made eye contact with the table next to us. And I said, like, she's so beautiful. Congratulations. How old is she? And the mom said she's 8 weeks. And then she kind of like touched her belly and said, or her body, I should say, and said, like, she's 8 weeks already. Like, after this big meal, like, I'm going to walk some laps at the park around the corner because, like, this weight's got to come off. And I literally looked at the girl that I was having lunch with. I know your face says everything. Like, I was mortified. And the girl who I'm having lunch with has become a friend of mine. It's actually the woman that we bought this house from, which is so funny. But we've become friendly. I did a presentation for her work for a women's group semi recently. She knows and I say that because she knows everything about what I stand for in my business. And she kind of just looked at me and she looked back at the woman. She was like, "Give yourself some grace." Like, she didn't let me answer, which I like so appreciate about her because I was like, what am I gonna say? And so she like kind of said, like, give yourself some grace. Like, you don't need to be worried about like that. Like, look at how beautiful your baby is. But like, imagine two strangers sitting next to you at lunch. You're out to lunch, you had this like delicious meal. And the first thing when somebody compliments how beautiful your baby is, two people you don't know, you're talking about how quickly you need to lose your baby weight. And it made me so sad.
That's
Like,
what I
I
was
didn't
gonna
know what to
say. Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Because I think that comes back to too, like women are so conditioned to bond over hating their bodies and
Yes.
dieting. So that might have been her just like first instinct of like, oh, I can connect to these women because I can talk about wanting to shrink my body. Right. That's
Yes.
like where my head goes.
Yes, and it was just so sad that, like, she said something along the lines of, like, "I'm stressing and I have a bachelorette party to go to this weekend, and how am I gonna wear a dress?" And I was like, "Girlfriend, wear something that makes you feel good. You just had a baby." And she said something along the lines of, like, "I just don't know where," and she again, pointing to her stomach, "this pouch came from." And my response back to her was, that baby, like, you grew her in there. And again, like, I have the privilege of this education too, and this hindsight being 2020, having had the disordered years of my life, the unlearning process, relearning, all of that, to like be able to say that with confidence. But I also so feel for her in the pressure that she feels right now by the society that we live in. And I just think, like, who out there like has painted this picture that you're expected to look like you never had a baby 8 weeks after having a baby? It's like,
Literally 8 weeks. I have like vivid memories of like
I was still
walking
crying.
around naked in my house with like
Bleeding.
a scrunchie in my hair. My tits are leaking. I'm like crying and like in a sitz bath. Like that's what I remember about 8 weeks postpartum.
I I think at 8 weeks, I was telling the girl I was having lunch with, like, at 8 weeks, I think that's when we found our now dog walker because he saw me walking Noah and Quincy and I was hysterically crying. Like,
Wait, is that a true story? That's how you found him?
I legitimately, I don't think I ever told you this. I had Noah
Jenna, this is
strapped to me.
amazing.
I was walking Quincy and I remember I saw this guy, he's walking a dog and Quincy's like pulling me to like go like say hi to this dog and I'm bawling. It was like my daily cry and I'm bawling my eyes out walking both of them. And he was like, "I don't know if this dog's friendly with other dogs." And I was like, "Is he new?" And he's like, "No, I walk dogs." And I was like, "Oh my God, I live on blah, blah, blah. Can you walk
Can you
my
just take this dog and I'll be back in like 20 minutes? Oh my God, wait, that's amazing. I mean, I'm
right?
so sad that you were in your feels then, but like so understandably so.
A year and a half later, Quincy's with him today. Thank you. Like,
That is
it's so
amazing. That's an amazing story that needed to be shared. Oh
I
my
know it's
gosh.
this bigger picture of the realities of becoming a mom, especially for the first time. This was clearly her first baby. I only have one, so that's all I know.
Mhm.
But it's a bigger conversation. And I know you and I wanted to have some mom chats on here, which are still rooted in, you know,
It's all,
dismantling diet culture
but then
chats.
add
Um,
another culture on top of it where it's just
yeah, like the
insane.
pressure and the reality, it's wild. And it made me very, very sad and also uncomfortable. Like, I'm an oversharer and I open up to people all the time, but that's like it's almost as like a cry for help, and I wish that I got her information so that I could like reach out to her to make sure she's okay. Seemed like she had a good support system because her husband was like, "No, she's beautiful," and like supporting her, which was just the whole thing to witness from the outside was it was really very heartbreaking for me. And so I think
Yeah.
again, I think it's a great conversation to talk about this bounce back culture that I know you hate because I hate it too. And you're
Mhm.
like more recently in it. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think I can't even imagine, yeah, how caught off guard you probably were. And that there's so many things you want to say, but you don't know if you should say. And because obviously now, like dissecting the conversation and the experience, it's like, people all the time when and I'm sure for you too, when you put question boxes up on your Instagram or whatever, like, what do you want to know about? People talk about like postpartum and and body image and all of those things. And, like I think you said the words like cry for help. That's such a perfect way to describe it because like, of course we can say to people that have body image struggles, like, but your baby's beautiful. And like, but like none of that matters, right? When you're like,
Mhm.
okay, yes, my baby's beautiful and I'm extremely uncomfortable in this new body. It feels really uncomfortable. Maybe I hate this body, even though it did such a beautiful thing. And I think sometimes there's almost like an extra layer of shame or guilt with postpartum body image because, especially now, there's people like you, me, all these creators out there that are talking about like, not be grateful for what your body's doing, but it's like, it's a beautiful thing. And if these people aren't feeling grateful for what their body just did, right? They're not feeling like it was
Yes.
beautiful. They're like feeling now guilt or shame for not feeling beautiful
Yes.
about, so it's like this whole guilt and shame spiral um that is just really hard to navigate.
And to break because it's like then like you just said, then you start feeling guilt and shame that you're not spending undivided devoting undevoted attention to this new baby because you're wrapped up in your body. But it's also like this is what we've been taught to feel. And
Yeah.
that's really hard. Because you see soup and I like joked with the girl I was having lunch with, like the people that you see that quote unquote get their bodies back to pre-baby, they had surrogates. Like,
Or they're
like
extremely disordered a lot of the times if it's like again right away. I remember thinking because I bought some pairs of jeans like during my fertility treatments because like with egg retrievals you get like like your ovaries go from
swollen.
size of walnuts to grapefruits, so like before even having kids like my body was changing so much. And then I remember thinking like, oh, like these jeans were like big, like maybe they'll fit again. Like I don't even know how many weeks postpartum I was, and I couldn't even get them over my hips. And I was like, and I think I put up a TikTok about this that it's like it's not like when we are accepting or neutral with our bodies that we're just like great, like my pants don't fit. Like it's not like that's a happy
Right.
situation, but to just be able to like take a deep breath, put the pants away, and know like it's okay. Like my body's changed. Like to be able to, like you said, talk through it of like, I just had this baby. This is why my body's changed. Bodies are meant to change throughout our life and like move on from it. To be able to do that, I feel so grateful. And I'm sure you feel a similar way that like, I can't even imagine having a baby years
Mm.
ago when I was in like a disordered place.
Yes. I had that exact same experience this summer. I put on a pair of shorts that and they like they went up, but like they went up to my crotch. And I was like, how
Yeah.
the fuck did I ever wear these?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not because I got taller. Like, it's just like they look different now. And I had that exact same experience of, okay, take a deep breath. Like these are just not for me right now. But I love that you just said that. Like it doesn't mean that I'm just like happy, like, okay, let's go get new shorts. It's still like the emotions are still very real. And I think that's a big misconception of the body neutrality movement, whatever, however you want to phrase it, that like you just like are happy all the time, but it's just accepting, understanding, processing, and moving on instead of dwelling on the emotions that dwelling on that anger or upsetness is not making any changes. It's certainly not any positive ones.
Yeah. And I think if you use the example that you gave with this girl that sat and had lunch with, let's like like flip the script, or even if we used your example or my example of trying on these clothes, right? Of just like the dialogue that we have with ourselves and how important it is, whether you're postpartum or not, it doesn't matter. But like, imagine if when you put those shorts on, I was like, oh, Jenna, like those shorts are disgusting. Like your body in those shorts, right? Like that would be horrific if a friend spoke to you that way. And so nobody would ever speak to a best friend like that. Why would you speak to yourself that way? And I don't know who said this, so I need to be able to coin them, but I always say, like, you can't hate your way to happiness. And
Yes. I feel like Bree said that, which we always talk about.
yeah, it's probably Bree for sure, but Bree Campos, shout out. But it's like, if you have this dialogue of like always picking apart your body, like you're never going to be happy in your body, no matter what size your body is. And we all, like, I know you've had this experience where you look at a back of a picture of yourself when you were in a smaller body and be like, okay, were you happy then? Was that exactly how you wanted to be? And it's like, no, I hated myself more than ever in that body.
Such a good point.
Enough.
That was naturally where our conversation went when the two of us were just eating and this couple left finally. And the girl I was having lunch with, like, made a comment about, she has two kids and about her own experience with her own body. And I said, there was a point in my own life where, like, I had what I deemed for myself was what I quote unquote wanted to look like. And there was nothing positive about my life. Not one thing. Not one thing. And I'm not just saying that, like, in hindsight, like, living in that time, there was also nothing but unhappiness, like complicated relationships with literally everyone in my life, everyone. Um, you know, Physical features of hair, skin, body, self, like everything was very, very upset. Is the right way to say it. And like you look back and it's like, how could I have actually had a relationship or spend any time with anybody when all I did was hate on myself? But this is that bigger conversation of I was being fueled by the comments of, the positive comments from society about commenting on my body, which is how we started this conversation. And so that can kind of bring it home of how it's never a positive to do that. Like, keep your comments to yourself. But I think that's like part of the bigger cycle is really reflecting on like we talked about last week. What does happiness mean to you? Right?
Yeah. Like, what do you want to feel and experience in this life? And usually when I ask people that question, they'll say freedom, contentment, happiness, love, joy. And then I'll ask, okay, is what you're doing, like your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, your diets that you're doing, is that leading you to that one word? And they'll so quickly say no. And it's like, okay, then why are we doing it? Right. And it's like, everyone has complete autonomy to do whatever they want. But if you know that information, and then it's like, okay, what do you want to do with that? Do you want to have the same relationship with food and body 10 years from now? If you do, more power to you, right? If that's what you choose. But it's, the postpartum body image, or just body image in general, it's such a nuanced conversation, just like everything we talk about, because there's so much that goes into it. There's the fat phobic society we live in. There's trauma, whether that's like physical or sexual abuse or verbal abuse. Like, there's so much that ties into it, more than just like, I don't like my body, right?
Yeah. It's so hard. And in the postpartum space too, the opinions from everyone else, I think, really complicate it when you're also in this bubble. Like, at 8 weeks, for the most part, the only person you're spending time with can't talk back to you, right? Like your little baby, for the most part, right?
Yes. Wait, I just thought of another what the actual fork moment. Can I end with it? Because it's tying perfectly into this. I forget if I definitely put it out on TikTok, and I should have fucking started with this. So 8 weeks, maybe 6 weeks postpartum. Luke and I walk into the pediatrician with Sienna in the car seat. So it's me, Luke, Sienna. And there's a dad and a toddler son waiting. And he looks at us and he goes, wow, you guys didn't waste any time. Irish twins. So he's insinuating that I'm pregnant, and Sienna literally is not even like maybe a month old. Like I need to look back on when I put the TikTok up.
Moron.
And so it's funny because I'm checking in. And so I'm listening behind me because I just totally like don't respond to this guy. And I'm like, oh my God, Luke's gonna like kill this man. And I'm like trying to listen to what Luke is gonna say to him. And yeah, and Luke's like, dude, she just had a baby. This is an infant. Like he's insinuating that I'm pregnant. Like, and so anyways,
He doesn't understand math.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he doesn't know math. But it was just like one of those things that again, like I can talk about this and like laugh and like whatever, but I was just in my head like, oh my God, this would derail so many people, which to me, I'm like, dude, I just fucking popped out a baby. Like I can't remember. I want to say it was around 6 weeks. No shit. Like I have, a pouch and my stomach is still enlarged or, whatever. But it was like, dude, keep your comments to yourself. And how about instead of congratulating me for being pregnant, like look in the fucking car seat, like, and congratulate us on that baby. So
I can't. It's just wild. It's like the wild, wild west. And I think that you have to have tough skin. And unfortunately, I certainly don't, like me personally. I think the social media facade that maybe I put up makes me look like I do, but I probably would have cried. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
it's just again, but it's just people commenting on people's bodies where it's like whether you were that's okay. I started this episode with people telling me, oh my God, you look so great. And then I ended the episode with someone being like, oh my God, congrats. How far along are you? Irish twins? ? So it's like just stop commenting on people's bodies, period. End of story. Like
done.
No compliment or not, like stop commenting. So anyway.
I was away this past weekend with my best friends from college and like,
oh yeah, I saw your videos. It looks so fun.
From Penn State. It was the absolute best weekend. Like we had so much fun, but almost everyone's a mom. We have one pregnant friend and one friend who does not have kids yet, but everyone else has babies. And the things that women are capable of, it's just fucking amazing. And the things that we are able to do and create and like manage, it was just the inspiration that I didn't even know that I needed to just hear everyone's stories and to be able to be present eating delicious food. Like the weekend revolved around where we were going to dinner and brunch, right? Like to be able to do that was just like this aha moment for me too, of like full circle growth and just accomplishment of my own unlearning process for myself. And I think I share this because I think everybody needs to kind of have those growth moments and be proud of their little wins. And that was just something that I'm very proud of. And I also encourage everyone to do it if you're able to get away with your closest friends, because it was like the emotional, like excitement that I needed. Was I refreshed afterwards? No, but like the emotional refreshment was really just like a very welcomed thing.
Isn't
and
it like
talk about diets?
Not talk about diets, but also I don't know if you use this word yet, but I know with my girlfriends, like a weekend away, like the laughter, like you're just
oh my God,
pissing yourself laughing the entire time.
Like we were joking that like the wait staff got an earful from like the conversations. It's just so special. And like again, I mean, maybe it's because they know me and they follow me on social media, but like for the most part, like there was no nutrition talk and it was so refreshing.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, I know you said that was the ender of the conversation, but I think Sam and I are going to continue to look through the comments that you guys leave on our Instagrams about what you want us to talk about. But if you want to hear more mom content, we would love feedback from this. I mean, that comment was something I literally left lunch and I was like, I can't wait to go talk about this on the podcast.
Well, that's like, it's like going, like I said, I need to leave my house a little bit more because I feel like when you go out in public, it's just like constant content, like ideas and things to talk about. And So thank you for sharing that story. And I love the story about your dog walker too, that I've never heard before. And yeah, to end this little episode with a bow, like, do not comment on somebody's body, even if you think it's a compliment. It might not be, or it probably isn't. So
Right. I was going to say, oftentimes it's not.
cut that. And like Jenna said, just leave comments on our Instagram, shoot us a DM and let us know what you want to hear more of. Any last remarks you want to end us with, Jen?
Give yourself grace, no matter where you are in your journey, whether you are on a postpartum ride or not, anything that has to do with body image journey, just give yourself grace. That's all. So however you interpret it, but you deserve it.
I love that.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of What the Actual Fork Pod. We know there are a lot of pods out there, and we are so grateful that you are here listening with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, like, share with all your friends and faves, and follow along with us on social at What the Actual Fork Pod. We promise to continue to bring you the hottest topics, greatest guests, and the most fun you can possibly have while fighting diet culture bullshit. We love you, we appreciate you, and we will see you next week for a lot more fun.